by because I don't want to miss anything. Awesome. Welcome. Thanks for coming and joining me. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, here we are. It's a different world since the last time we worked together.
I know, I feel so sad. I really miss being in that like physical, beautiful community energy, but there's so much immense power, of course, in doing things online.
For sure.
Make
Yeah.
it more accessible for everyone too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we're seeing what's possible, and I know, I host retreats and women's sexual empowerment programs, and we did my Fire Women retreat in May, and we had women and folks from all over the world, so, I mean, there were people that stayed up all night to be with us.
Wow.
And the other thing I didn't see coming is just also that it opens the door for people who are neurodivergent,
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of social anxiety, things like that, also to show
Yeah.
up where, I had people tell me I would never come in person to your retreat,
Oh,
but because it was online, I felt like I could do it. So it's great because it really is opening up possibility for us in this work.
yeah, it's so beautiful. And for people with physical limitations too, or who can't travel, so
Mm-hmm.
nice to be able to have that accessibility for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of, I feel like that's a good segue for our chat this morning of like, what do we feel like the main barriers to sexual liberation are? And I think for a lot of folks, it's access and resources too.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big one. That's like the external one, right? The mechanistic one. And I think, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest barrier internally for people is shame.
Yeah.
It's shame, it's feeling like they're not getting it right, it's comparing themselves to other people. It's all the ideas people get around, oh, well, I'm such and such age, and so therefore I should be at this particular place in my sexual development. And so then I think people get really nervous about it, and it's like we want to hide that we still have work to do, or that we don't know, that there's something that we don't know. And so then sometimes that spirals people into more shame and keeping it hidden, rather than saying, wow, I get to learn more about this. I want to open up doors for myself. I want to really acknowledge that my sexuality is not something I've ever developed. And if you haven't had any good sex education, and you haven't had people around you who are able to really address and talk about sexual issues very openly, then you probably haven't, and that's what I love about Sex Positive Universe for Women. It's an opportunity to create dialogue, and people are really open in a lot of their dialogue there, and I think that people are very hungry for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that description is the majority, right, of folks, that they just don't have good access to comprehensive, fact-based, pleasure and consent-centered and oriented sex education, and then also don't have any community they can talk with and say, hey, this has been happening to me. Like, I know in a lot of my client sessions, I joke about it, but I feel like a lot of my work is going, that's normal. Yeah, that's really normal. That's common. And people go, oh, shit, I had no idea.
Right. Yeah, because if you've never had real conversations with other people, then you think, oh, it's just me. This
Yeah.
is only happening to me. Nobody else deals with what
Yeah.
I'm dealing with. And then I think, and that's what I love about, the work I do, and especially the in-person work, is that it's an opportunity where people can witness each other and they can really hear from each other. And that helps us get out of our own story.
Mm.
If I'm dealing with something inside, and then you share your story about something similar, then I can get out of like the personalization of it, and I can hear it from your perspective, and then we get that different like view of it. Oh, okay. And then what I see is a lot of people really learn through those processes with each other. Witnessing one another allows them to just see their own stuff from a totally different angle. And
Yeah.
break through it.
I've definitely felt really humbled this year from the power of collective healing and sharing. And one of the things I've been working through a lot in my personal and professional life is stepping out of the advice giving space. Because I think sometimes when we give a lot of advice, we're just saying like, oh, you're wrong, or you're broken, and I have the answers. And like you're saying, I feel like there's so much power in just being like, I've been there too. Here's how the experience was for me, and not like XYZ is how you can fix it.
Yeah, because there's not one way to do this. I mean, sexuality is a myriad of things and journeys. A lot
Yeah.
of times, I've been teaching sexuality for 25 years, and I've been doing work around sexual empowerment specifically for the last like 11 with adult women and non-binary people. And people will often ask me, oh, well, what's the issue that people come to you that you solve? And I'm like, there's not one issue. There are so many, and so when I wrote my book, Woman on Fire, about the 9 elements of sexual empowerment, that was my approach. It's like, there's so many doorways that we can enter the work from. For some people, it's, I don't know what I want. I don't know what my desires are. Or maybe I have an inkling of what they are, but I don't know how to communicate them. I don't know how to get my needs met. So I think desire is a really big one. And then for a lot of other people, it's their body. It's embracing their body. It's understanding their body and how pleasure works, and getting connected to themselves, and for other people, they're having breakdowns in relationship, and they're wanting different things, and their partner's wanting, and they're trying to figure that out. And so that's what brings them in. There's like a whole range of things. Of course, there's a lot of emotional issues around sex and sexuality. And then for some people, it's trauma healing, and or letting go of shame and guilt. And I mean, for most people, there's something there. So, but there's a lot of doorways. It's not one thing. Some people really want to come into their voice and learn how to really stand in their power and their voice, and communicate better. So, my approach is always, find the doorway that is most like salient and alive for you, and start there, and then let that lead you down the path to your own sexual empowerment and erotic knowledge. And then, you'll discover so many things along the way, and all these other doors will open.
Yeah. And thanks for saying that, like that idea of which doorway is the easiest for you. Because I think often, and particularly in this community of folks that are really focused on self-awareness and self-improvement, we can kind of get, or at least maybe I'm just projecting, but I'm a Scorpio rising, and I get real easy into the shadow work. And then it's really hard for me to kind of come out and be like fun and playful all the time. And I think, totally could just be projecting, but I do feel like a lot of people kind of struggle with that too, of like, we always have to be learning, growing, progressing through trauma and struggle and challenge. And it's so nice to hear someone like yourself who's so experienced in the field to say, like, you know what, you can also find like, which is the easiest doorway to go through right now, and then see how things progress and where you want to go from that point.
Whoops. Oh, I lost you for that last moment. What was the last thing you said?
It just feels so nice to have someone like yourself who's so experienced say that it's okay to just find which is the easiest pathway, at least initially, and then kind of see what sexual labyrinth that's going to uncover. And we don't always have to be into this work and like trauma and pain, and it can be a bit more easeful than that.
Yeah, I think that's totally what it is, sexual labyrinth. Yeah, it's like, there's not one way to do it. But I think, there's always like, the latest poll about, people are having sex 2.5 times a week, or whatever. And so there's always these, and of course in the culture, there's just so many messages about how we're supposed to look, how we're supposed to perform sexually, who we're supposed to be attracted to, what kind of attractiveness we're supposed to have, And so we're constantly being told who to be, how to be, what to like, what kind of sex to have, and so I think in that cultural soup, it's very challenging for people to figure out what's really authentic for them. And that to me is the work. It's really about sexual authenticity and, figuring out what the path is for you. And a lot of times people are not in an authentic place because of all that cultural stuff. A lot of times they have gotten into relationships because of all that cultural stuff that they actually aren't really aligned with, and they maybe shouldn't be in. But, it's their path to figure that out. And, one of the hard choices I really see that many people end up facing is do I choose my own sexual becoming, or do I choose the relationship I'm in?
Wow.
Because sometimes they are not ever going to align. You know, if you've got a partner that's like, I just want to keep it status quo, I don't want to change anything, I don't want to have to work at this, I don't want to have to acknowledge my own sexual shame or my own feelings of inadequacy or whatever it is, you know, you will hit a roadblock, because, you know, you get to do your own work on yourself. And if you are in a monogamous relationship where that is your playground for sexual expression, excuse me,
Bless you.
woo, there's the expression. If that's your playground for sexual expression, and you have a partner that's really not willing to grow and not willing to go to new places with you, then there's going to be a limitation there. And so then you get to make a choice. You get to make that choice. And that's not an easy one. That's not an easy one to make.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the work, whether it's personal or professional, is unpacking all of the shoulds that we've taken on. Like, I should look like this, or I should, for me, it was like, I should look like this during sex. I should sound like this during sex. Like, all of the fucking shoulds. We have to unlearn them to figure out what our authentic sexual expression is. And then when we do that, sometimes we look around in our world and we're like, holy shit, none of this is resonant with me anymore. Not my partner, not my job, nothing. And are we open to up leveling to a higher degree? Like, I certainly see a lot of my one-on-one clients who are like, oh, I got a promotion, or I left that partner and now I have an awesome one. But that liminal space in between, oh shit, I want more than this, and oh, now I'm in the more than this, is so uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, for any growth, right? Yeah, I'm glad that you gave that example, because, you know, I think there is a time in most of our lives, if we are conscious, if we care about our own self-development, where we will face our sexuality and realize that we cannot be in our full power without it. And of course, people try all the time, but you know, your sexuality has to come with you. You know, you can't be pushing that down in a way and not addressing it, and then, you know, be your best self and have all the things you really want in your career, in your family life, in your creativity, in finances and money, you know, all of those things. So it always goes hand in hand. And, you know, what I have really seen over the years is how much women that come into my work will really develop in all areas of life through that doorway. Because if you're in your power sexually, you could be in your power anywhere, right? Like, that's the hardest, most tender place for most people to really show up in their full power. And so when you're showing up in your full power there, asking for a raise, no big deal. You know, going to a new place in your career, no big deal. You know, managing other kinds of negotiations and other relationships, like that comes with the territory. So I love that.
I feel like this is such an old cheesy expression, but like, you know, we accept the love we think we deserve. I really, really resonate with that. And I feel like it speaks so much to our relationship to pleasure. Like, if we're showing up to sex being like, oh, it doesn't really matter if I have a good time, as long as I know I've given my partner a great time, then yeah, maybe we don't really care what our job is and that someone treats us like shit there. But then when you start being like, no, I want pleasure, I want orgasms, I want to be able to speak up for how I feel during sex, is then hard to go to work and be like, yeah, okay, whatever. You're like, no, give me that promotion, give me that raise. You know, we get that. I feel like not only does it come easier, but it's almost like you can't tolerate the discomfort anymore, because now we know we expect more.
Yeah.
One of the things I found really, really interesting, and I'm wondering if you've noticed this in your students and clients too, so many of mine have been saying to me during quarantine, oh, I really thought that my barrier to pleasure and sex and like an erotically abundant life was not having the time. And now they have all of this time and they're still struggling to prioritize it. And I totally relate too. Have you experienced that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's like that old saying, like, wherever you go, there you are. You know, I mean, yeah, I think this sheltering in place period has been so interesting, because it's really forced people to look at what's not working, or to see what's not working, even if they don't want to look. They're seeing it because you can't not see it. You know, so I think there's a range of things where it's like in many couples, they're spending way more time with each other than they're used to.
Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
that has its challenges. And, you know, and either you're going to step it up together, or, you know, I think there's a high breakup rate happening right now.
So high. Like literally everyone I know.
Yeah, because people are like, wow, when I'm spending this much time with you, that it doesn't work. This
Yeah.
isn't what I want. And it doesn't mean that it has to, you know, that may not be what your normal is, you know, that like, oh, I want to live with you and be with you 24/7. Like that would drive me crazy with anybody personally. So yeah, I think that's a big piece. And then I think also people are doing a lot of self-reflection about, wow, life is now. A lot of people are dying right now.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no guarantees. And so I know for myself, I've just been doing a lot of reflection on my life and what I want and what's not working and what gets to go, you know. And the other thing I've been doing is really choosing to do things that I keep putting off. The things that I keep saying, oh, someday I want to learn piano. Well, guess what? I'm learning piano now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying it my whole life. I'm like, what the fuck are you waiting for? Play the damn piano, you know? And so that's been one of my really sweet things during this time. But yeah, just looking at the things I keep saying I'm going to do that I haven't done, and doing the ones that I can do right now. So that is my question to you. If anyone's watching, what have you been saying you want to do that you haven't done that you get to do? So
such a good question to be asking ourselves.
Yeah.
Like what barriers do you feel like you're putting up, dear watcher, against your pleasure? What is it that you feel like? For me, it's over prioritizing work. So I'll be like, oh yeah, I definitely want to take a bath. I definitely want to do my stretches. I definitely want to have that solo sex session, but I'm just going to do this work first. And it's like such a mind fuck. I just get really stuck in capitalist culture. So that's something I'm really working to unlearn right now, and centering my pleasure. I wonder if you experience this too. I feel like for me, because so much of my work is oriented around sex and pleasure, whenever I'm engaging in it just for me, like just on a personal front, my monitor starts getting activated in my brain that goes, oh, you should try to remember this because this will be really helpful for clients. Talk about this. You can do this. And I'm like, bitch, just be in the moment.
Always working.
But I feel like we all have those, like that's mine, you know, I'm just being vulnerable with everyone because that's what I'm working on this year. But you know, for people watching this, like sit down with just a pen and paper, like you don't need fancy tools, and just think. I would really encourage people to keep asking themselves why over and over again, like a 3-year-old. Be like, all right, well, it feels hard for me to prioritize sex. Why? I do have time now. So what's the next layer? What's the next layer? What's the next layer?
Yeah.
Because like you said, everyone always wants to ask you like, oh, what's the main barrier to sex? And it's like, everything, mate. I can't just pick one. It's so unique.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Yeah, and I do think one of the big barriers is that people don't know how or where to expand. It's like they know they want more, but it's hard to picture what the more is, and they don't know the resources, you know. And I think that's getting better. More people know that people like you and myself exist, and that they could go, you know, it's something you go develop. Just like if you want to develop your physical body, you get a personal trainer. And just like if you want to, you know, develop yourself emotionally, you get a therapist, you know. And so it's like, you know, I think more and more people do know that, and people can still be shy about it because there's this idea that we just need to do this alone. And I think we get to stop lone wolfing with it. Everybody needs help with their sex lives at some point in their life. I have been to therapy for sex, right? And I've been teaching it for 25 years. So we all at some point need support around our sexuality, whether it's that we get to explore the deeper issues that might be holding us back in therapy, or we're just like, I just want to expand. I want to grow. I want to learn. And so then you get to work with sex educators, or, you know, do a program or go to a retreat, or, you know, and, yeah, I mean, the massive expansion that I watch happen, even in such a short period of time as doing like Fire Woman retreat, is amazing.
It
you
was
know?
so incredible when I was able to attend live. I just loved it. And to be in that, like we were saying earlier, that community of support is so valuable, because whether it's in a super microcosm where we're looking at our perhaps primary or only romantic or sexual partner to fulfill all of our sexual and romantic needs, I also just don't think we can give that to ourselves. And I think we need that true community support and gathering and connection and reflection so we can actually up level.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think you can hermit your way to like the best sex of your life.
Yeah, and I don't work with a lot of people one-on-one anymore because of that. I think there's a place for one-on-one, and some people
Yeah.
need that for sure. But what I really love is what gets to happen in community.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not alone with it, feeling like, oh, I just have to figure it out in my own head. And you just, like I said, you get to witness each other and you get to play. I mean, that's what I love about Fire Women Retreat. And we're doing it again in 2 weeks, and you're coming again. Not even 2 weeks. Oh my God, it's like next week. So, yeah, I mean, I love the community aspect of it and getting to dress up and play and learn from different teachers. You're going to come and teach at the Erotic Carnival, which I love because, and I developed the Erotic Carnival because I wanted people to have a place where they could go and really learn hands-on skills about sex and their own erotic nature without having the pressure of a partner, because that's how most people will learn. They're like, okay, well, let's just try this new thing. And then they're fumbling or they're awkward or they're embarrassed or it's not working or they're worried about their performance, or like there's so much where people get in their heads.
Yeah.
When there's a partner that's expectant, that's right there, like, okay, and not that we shouldn't explore with partners. Of course we get to do that. And there's something really beautiful about having a space where it's, you make your own adventure. You could go learn from Isabella over here. You could go learn from this other teacher over here and this other thing over here. And so we do this range of sexual skills and erotic skills so that there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell them what you're teaching?
Oh, yeah. So I'm teaching my sensual self-tying shibari. It is absolutely hands down one of my favorite classes to teach. Like you said, I feel like so many people, they want to learn a skill with their partner, but then it's also like a barrier as well as an incentive. And I think particularly when we're learning a new skill, for me, I get really awkward about like wanting to look sexy while I'm doing it. And sometimes you just want to be like, how do you tie this knot, and not worry about what your face is doing. And it's so nice as well to have different tools in your solo sexual tool belt so that you're not always just relying on genital touch. So I love teaching people skills that create that like fun, diversity, sexual variety, and novelty, which registers as sexually relevant. So we're hopefully going to be boosting your desire and all that good stuff. So I'm going to be teaching some of the super classic intro ways to do self-tying shibari or bondage, and also kind of talking about how we can do intuitive tying, which is what I'm super interested in. As once we know the basics, then you can just like have fun and play with your rope. And it doesn't always have to be, as long as we're doing floor work and not suspensions. I always forget to mention that safety. But as long as you're just doing floor work and you're being really safe and you've learned the basics, which I'll be going over, you can really have so much fun, like making yourself into this beautiful present for yourself tied up in rope. So I'm really excited. It was so much fun last year.
Oh my God, I loved it. It was so great. It was so funny because it was going to rain. We were at the
That's right.
And so it was supposed to be an outdoor event, and then it was supposed to rain. We were like, oh man, what do we do? So we ended up in this hotel like breakfast room that we transformed into this like erotic space. Oh my God, I have such good pictures. We actually just posted some pictures on my Instagram this week.
Awesome. I have to check it out.
From your workshop, because I had some of me tied up, and then one of the women, Kiki, had tied herself and looked beautiful, and so we took pictures. But yeah, I mean, so I love it, and I love that we've figured out ways to do this, remotely.
Yeah.
So that people
the breakfast room all over again. We
gotta
be
your own breakfast, sexy room, and bring some rope, and you get to tie yourself up with Isabella. Like, what better?
So fun.
Yeah, I mean, we've got teachers coming to teach everything from lap dancing to sensual movement to seduction techniques to impact play
Oh, so
to
good.
BDSM 101 and pervertibles, which I love. My friend Sophie
Ooh.
Megatron is going to come and teach that.
Oh, she's the best.
She's so wonderful. Marla Renee Stewart is going to be there. Bunch of amazing teachers. Sophia Wise One is going to do a self-pleasuring ritual with everyone.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's just a whole range of things, and there's something for everyone. And I just love that about the Erotic Carnival.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Like we get to have different ways of learning, and so getting to do Firewoman Retreat virtually allows people from different time zones and different parts of the world where it might be hard to travel to be there. So yes, come everybody. It is October 22nd through the 25th, and the Erotic Carnival is on Saturday afternoon. It's our tea time on Saturday afternoon. We're doing a sexual archetype ritual the night before, where we're going to have a bunch of people playing like a dozen sexual archetypes.
Amazing.
And then during the day, it's a lot of deep healing work and transformational teachings. And, so I feel like at Firewomen, we just go through so many different pieces of our sexuality, and there's a lot of play, and then there's the sacred theater, and there's dress up, and there's like emoting and release, and and just experiential learning.
Oh, yes, that experiential learning is so important. Like, I feel like we get so limited into the ways that we're supposed to take on information. We're like, we have to read this book or do this podcast, but also you can like play and do that in a community of people that's really safe and expansive and juicy and exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't always have to be like, good student.
Yep. So I'm really excited. Thank you for coming again.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so looking forward to it. I actually, a week ago, got an email from a student who had been at that in-person retreat, emailing me saying, hey, it's been forever. Wondered if you had any books. Love your thing. I thought, hope I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Yay, I love it. I love it. Yeah, we're doing an opening ritual for people that are like, I'm not sure. So if you want to come to the opening ritual, that's actually open to everyone as long as you identify as a woman or non-binary. So people are invited to come to opening ritual, and a lot of people last time signed up after opening ritual. So that's also an option for people. And then for others, if you can't come to the whole weekend, you can actually get a ticket for the sexual archetype ritual. If you want to come explore the archetypes, you can do that. The Erotic Carnival is only for retreat participants. So yeah, so we're really, really excited.
Do yourselves a favor, everybody. Come have fun with us. It's going to be so beautiful and so fun and sexy.
Oh my God, it's going to be transformative. And we purposely planned it right before the election because we get to get together and we get to hone our energy. I mean, talk about using our sexual energy to create the world we want. Like, we get to do that right now. This is such a critical time. And so our theme this year is pleasure activism. And so it'll be 2 weeks, not even, before the election. And we get to hold each other high and just use that energy powerfully. So
thank you for picking that timing. We need it. We need this like glimmer of hope and joy and sex and pleasure at this time.
Yeah, we do. All right, everyone. Well, we'll put the links below. Please join us. Can't wait to see
links in, all the good stuff. If you are watching this in the replay and you have questions, you want answers, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm excited to see you soon, even in a virtual space. Bye, everyone.